Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. Oh, dearie me. I was banking on the hopes that Keir the traitor Starmer would be out of the Houses of Treachery, I mean Parliament, or maybe I was right first time, before the year was out. But unfortunately, the debate is going to be taking place, I think they said on the 6th of January, the debate about whether we should have a general election due to the incompetence and the failures of the traitor party. Sorry, I mean Labour Party. Oh no way, I was right first time. With terrible people such as Rachel Thieves, David the Archbishop of Racism Lammy, Mike Assaulting Amesbury, Ricky Cutthroats Jones, just to name a few. I mean, for fuck's sake, what an absolute shower of shit. Who on earth put these people in there? How on earth do we have such a shower of shit leading our country? I suppose somebody dumped into the showerhead. Anyway, how do we have people like this? How do we have traitors at the helm? But perhaps one of the most sickening things that Keir the traitor Starmer is thinking about right now, something that he has not ruled out, is blasphemy laws. Now, I know to play devil's advocate here for the clearly English person who mentioned this shit, he did technically say for Islam, Christianity, and was it Hinduism or something? Some other obscure fucking religion. So it wasn't just him saying about Islam. But let's face it, who are the real people who get upset when you say blasphemy about their religion? Islam. Islam cannot tolerate people who speak negatively about their child-violating leader, their prophet Muhammad, or the fact that their own scriptures categorically tell them to go and slay the unbelievers, to slaughter us dirty kafir, or kafar, or kerfuffle, or whatever you want to call it. Our government wants to obviously protect us from people who incite violence and hatred and what have you, because they have to. It's a basic principle. However, if they were really determined to tackle this wholeheartedly, I think they would turn their sights inward and take a look at that bloody book sitting in the middle of the fucking tables of the Houses of Commons. Yes, I wanted to say treachery, but I have to call it House of Commons sometime. But anyway, the point is, the Quran categorically incites violence and hatred towards anybody who is not a Muslim, to anybody who is not a Mohammedan. So what do you think will happen when somebody like Keir the traitor Starmer, who already has said he will do everything he can to protect the Muslim community, what do you think he's going to do at the idea of bringing in potential blasphemy laws for Britain? I guarantee you, if there was a talk about we should ban Islam from our country because it belongs in the same third world shitholes that a lot of these illegals, these Islamic scumbags are coming from, how long do you think it would be before we hear the cries of Islamophobia? 5 seconds? Probably being generous there, actually, probably more like 2. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. Whoever the fuck this moron is trying to say we should get blasphemy laws into Britain clearly needs to be reminded that politicians should not be bringing religion into a debate. What has religion done for politics? I'll tell you what it's done. Sweet fuck all. But of course, Islam wants it to be in politics because then they can effectively go and leapfrog into a Sharia law state, which Keir the traitor Starmer is more than happy to give them, being the useful idiot and the absolute tool that he is. And quite frankly, it scares me to think that this is what our government is prioritising. Putting illegals from their third world shitholes into our hotels at our expense, while we have over 300,000 plus people homeless, including veterans. And yet we're supposed to preach tolerance towards people. Why the fuck should we be tolerant to a religion that is itself intolerant? Islam is about as welcome in this country as a practical joker is at a funeral. Oh, but the lefties, they'll just focus on, oh, look at the grifter Tommy Robinson and how he's far right and racist and Islamophobic. Even though the vast majority of what he said is correct, and you can't be racist against a religion. But just like how they melted down over Trump being elected, they'll melt down over the potential of being proven wrong that in fact Islam is an intolerant death cult that belongs in the third world shitholes that they came from. And in fact, I'm going to go as far as to say this. That MP who called for those blasphemy laws, he should have been sacked. Stroke number one. He should have been sacked from his position just like that. Now quickly, someone tie a sack over his head and get him out of here. Anyway, he should have been sacked from there the moment he mentioned that question. Last time I checked, Britain was founded on Judeo-Christian heritage. And anybody with even the slightest sliver of decency would not challenge that. Do you see me going out to Baghdad or Iraq or Afghanistan? Well, I can't afford it, but let's say I am for the sake of argument. Do you see me going out to those countries and saying, we should have more Christianity in these countries, or we should build more Christian churches in these countries? No, of course not, because the Islamists would be all over me like white on rice. So you Islamist cunts, keep your hatred-filled revolutionary fucking religion out of our parliament. You want to preach Islam and your so-called religion of peace? Do it in your third world shitholes, not in our country. If our government even did a good hour of research onto Islam, Islam would have been banned from our country, just like that. But of course, Keir the traitor Starmer won't do that. No, Keir the traitor Starmer is all too happy to hold up the portcullis and let these Islamic scumbags in through the front door. To bring up the point again, our prisons are for the most part mostly packed with jihadists, people who are basically intolerant of us, who wage war on us dirty kafir. And when ordinary people go to prison and they're approached by Muslim gangs, they're basically faced with two choices: convert or coffin. I'm not talking about the shit you do when you get the flu. Anyway, it's convert or coffin. You either convert to Islam or you die. Then the next box they get won't be HelloFresh, it will be a pine box, as I said. Unfortunately, most of our mainstream politicians do not have the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to be able to call out radical Islam for what it is: a death cult, a conquering religion, an intolerant, hate-filled group of pricks who have no respect for other countries they go to invade. And why would they? Because basically they see it that anybody who worships a scripture that isn't the Quran is an enemy, and that is not acceptable. But if you're a homosexual, which these queers for plasticine don't seem to understand, is that if you're caught in a homosexual relationship, you either get the luxury, and I obviously use air quotes for this, of either getting stoned to death or given a nice, free, first-class ticket off the top of a high-story building. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think ending my free trial of life seems like a very good idea when converting to Islam as a queer person. But obviously, when it comes down to facts and logic, that seems to be devoid from most woke groups. Now, let me be absolutely clear. This is not me basically giving malicious hatred towards people who want to be gay or lesbian or even bisexual. For all I know, I might be bisexual, though I'm having trouble trying to identify that yet. No, I'm not going to tell you whether or not I have tits and that. Anyway, the point is, I don't care if you want to be a gay person or a lesbian. The only thing I have beef with is when people try to shove those opinions down people's throats. So if you want to go and lick the same side of a stamp as a lady, or if you want to bang other men, that's your choice, that's your prerogative. Don't let me stop you. But don't ask me to sympathize with you when Islam decides to turn on you. And it won't be for gratification, let me tell you that much, free of charge. But these are the same people that Keir the traitor Starmer is more than willing to protect. More than willing to protect the nonces, the grooming gangs, the terrorists and the murderers of a death cult that is Islam. And he is forsaking his own native people of Britain to do so. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a prime minister who serves his own people. That sounds like to me a sectarianist bastard and a traitor on top of that, who is more interested in appeasing a group that cannot be appeased rather than serving his own people, which he is sworn in office to uphold their values. But that's, of course, something the mainstream media do not want to tell you. If I was in office, if I was in power, if I was in 10 Downing Street, I'd have had Islam kicked out of this country. Just like that. Because it's not hard. Deport the foreign criminals, deport the illegal immigrants, send back any foreign stroke number 2, deport any foreign criminals who have come over here to commit crime. It really isn't that hard. Not only will you save the British taxpayer money, because we won't have to pay for their sorry crime-committing arses, but you'll also make it a lot easier for future as well, because then all the people that are trying to come into this country illegally will take the hint and they will stop paying the people smugglers for a ticket to come over here because they know they won't be welcome. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's just hope it's not the turtle doves for Christmas. Anyway, you'll be solving 2 problems and killing 2 birds with 1 stone. There's also that saying that Nigel the Phony Farage came up with, which was, once you pay the Dane Geld, you cannot get rid of the Dane. And we have most indubitably been paying the Dane Geld for way too fucking long, let me tell you. But I'm worried about this, folks. The 6th of January may only be, what, 5 or 6 weeks away? But here's the thing. I don't think we've got that time to wait. We certainly don't have 5 years. And I think the cold, bitter truth is, as I've said before, I think we are headed towards a violent revolution, which, as I've always said, without fail, I do not want, I do not advocate for, and I will not justify. But I will completely understand if the British people decide they've finally had enough and they want to go down that route. There is a big difference between understanding and sympathising with violent offenders. Because the bottom line is this. Our country is not going to last 5 years. We'll be lucky if it lasts 5 to 6 months under Keir the traitor Starmer's leadership. Oh, what a coincidence, the police showed up. No, they're not here for me. Anyway, the fact is, Keir the traitor Starmer is doing every single thing he can to destroy this country. However, there is one bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the headlamp of an oncoming train. And that is that apparently the Chiago Islands, apparently a deal is off stroke number 3 as far as the Chiago Islands are concerned. However, Keir the traitor Starmer has always got a middle finger waiting for all of us, and especially for Donald Trump, who is looking to veto this shit. So now, when Keir the traitor Starmer steps to the front, he's fast-tracking this vote. He is planning to get this vote in before Trump gets into the Oval Office. So he is doing everything he physically can to push this deal to give this this Chiago Island back to the Falklands, basically, to Mauritius, which would make the sacrifices of all those people who fought in the Falklands Wars for nothing. What do you think? Bearing in mind, the US has a base on the Chiago Islands. Oh, also, on a side note, before I go any further, people are correcting me with who I called Mira Linden. It's actually Mira Hindley. So I will apologise for that much. And another thing as well, this Sanford police account, apparently some people are saying that it could be a parody account, which I'm hoping that's the case, because at least it isn't actually happening, trying to arrest people for posting a picture of Keir the Traitor Starmer and Rachel Reeves' face being on these two more murderers. So I will admit to that much and apologise for the mistaking of misnaming one of the more murderers. But back on point. It seems, as I said, that Keir the Traitor Starmer is doing everything he can to shaft the British people. And, of course, shaft over, or screw over, rather, the Americans as well. This is what DEI has got us, folks. Yeah. But let's not complain too much about that, because that's not the main emphasis of the video. The point I'm trying to make is Keir the Traitor Starmer is trying to make sure that Donald Trump cannot veto the Chiago Islands. And to me, that is fundamentally wrong, because he has no right to try and do this to subvert what is effectively a democratic decision by the most powerful man in the world. He has no right to try and subvert and evade Donald Trump's veto. And he would do well to remember that, because even if he does push it through, he'll end up pissing off the most powerful man in the world. And what happens if Keir the Traitor Starmer needs a favour from Donald Trump? I think Donald Trump would be very reluctant to help a man that is as slimy as an eel in ectoplasm. But then the man is shameless, so I suppose Keir the Traitor Starmer won't even give it a second thought. But he has no right whatsoever to shaft his own people, to screw over the Americans, and to disrespect those people who died in the Falklands Wars, as well as 2 world wars, with his mere presence and what he's preaching. Now, to divert a little bit again, this time I forgot to mention this in the last video, because I mentioned I'd talk about assisted. So, I'll go over that and my thoughts for a few minutes. So, as far as assisted is concerned, or assisted sue, my humble opinion is, and this may be wrong, and my opinion is subjective, I believe that assisted sue should only be available if your quality of life is so bad that it causes you unnecessary suffering. And I'm not talking about, oh, I've got a toothache, or oh, I bumped my knee on the railing, or oh, I've had a leg chopped off, or whatever. I'm talking your life becomes so intolerable. Every single day is pain and suffering, and you get nothing from it. Like, you are constantly in agony the whole time, and you cannot enjoy anything. At that point, do I feel that assisted sue is the right thing? Yes, I do. Because it is a matter of preserving one's dignity and making sure that you go out on your terms of, I don't want to suffer through, for example, an incurable cancer, or be in a situation where you suffer in, for example, locked-in syndrome, or you suffer from lockjaw, or you suffer from something that is basically going to kill you slowly and painfully. I am of the opinion that people should have the right to decide not to go through that. But I only agree to it under the specific circumstances that A, there is absolutely zero chance of curing or alleviating the pain that you're going through. 2, is that you are, if you try to live through it, there is no benefit to it whatsoever, because it basically stops you from being able to carry out your daily tasks and your daily life with decency and dignity. And 3 is that you have tried every other way of being able to basically live out your life, and it has categorically failed. In that case, yes, I do support it. But what I would not support is if somebody just wants to take the easy way out, like for example, oh, I've hurt my knee, or oh, I've got a toothache and I don't want to go on with it. I don't agree with that. I think personally you should seek out every available option to try and alleviate the issue. Personally. That's my humble opinion on it. So, as far as that's concerned, some people are saying don't give doctors the decision. Well, frankly, as I said, it's more down to the person. Does the person want this, yes or no? And if it is justifiable and it meets those 3 criteria I've mentioned, then yeah, I think they should have the right to do that. But if they don't, then I say that they should try every other option, and only when those 3 criteria are properly met should they be given the right to be able to have assisted sue. Now back onto Keir the Traitor Starmer. I think before too much longer he will have to go. There's no question about it. It's just a matter of when. He is living on borrowed time right now. Even if he can survive to the 6th of January, which he might, I don't think he will last longer than a couple of months, if even that afterwards. Because the man is the most hated man in Britain. Not Tommy Robinson, like a lot of the mainstream media shills like to project. Tommy Robinson isn't the most hated man, he's the most loved man, I'd probably say, if anything, because he wants what a lot of British people want, which is the best for their country. They don't want to see Britain become the same third world shithole that Islam basically preaches, that the intolerant fanatics and of course the illegal immigrants, the vast majority of them, come from. He doesn't want to see our country become a toilet, basically. Whereas Keir the Traitor Starmer is doing everything he can to turn our country into a toilet. He's doing everything he can to fast track Mohammedans into our country at our expense, while imprisoning political prisoners for exercising their right to free speech and the right to protest. And I am serious. I think if things don't get resolved within the next 2 or 3 months, I think there is going to end up being violent revolution. And I think the people are going to do everything they can to overthrow the government, which, as I said, I am not an advocate for. I will completely understand why they do it, though. No question about it. And if it does happen, they can't just say, oh, you see, they are far-right racists and football hooligans and thugs and what have you, and insert excuse here. They'll only have themselves to blame because of constant decades of taking the piss out of the British people, not respecting their wishes, not listening to the British people, continually trampling over their rights, continually violating their own people. And what will they do? As I said, bring the army in? Well, good luck with that, because I think a lot of them would not be serving career politicians who want to stab their own people in the back. And last time I checked, quite a few of these politicians that have been in as of late have been cutting our defence spending. A lot of them have been Ramonas who have been trying to get us back into the EU, which the most number of people turned up to that democratic vote to leave the European Union. 52% to 48% may not be a big margin, but the bottom line is the people spoke, they voted, and it was the largest turnout in history. Whereas Keir the Traitor Starmer was voted on the lowest number of people turning up in history, and on the lowest majority. But nobody wants to speak about that, because it would derail the left-wing narrative, the globalist, Marxist, communist narrative that Keir the Traitor Starmer doesn't want derailed. But what I find truly insensitive is Sadiq Totally Not a Terrorist Khan, was putting all those messages down in the London Underground. He was pushing the narrative of assisted sue. in completely distasteful approaches to it. Why is he pushing this? It's not his right. Sadiq Khan should be focusing on managing London and doing it in a decent manner. But mind you, he has about as much decency as a streaker in front of pregnant women. The man who constantly pushes DEI, the man who says that terrorism is part and parcel of living in a big city, a man who wanted to put up the criminal ULEZ scheme to tax and wage war on the motorists. And he has the audacity to start saying, oh, we're gonna push this assisted sue narrative. It disgusts me. And of course, I think it goes without saying, he's a Labour mayor, and we are seeing unilaterally how much of a colossal fuck-up the Labour Party has been. They have done nothing but bring this country down. Tony the War Criminal Blair sends soldiers off to die on a false war. Gordon the Bullion Blundering Brown sells off our gold at a fraction of the market price. And now we have Keir the Traitor Starmer, who is looking to destroy the country at breakneck speeds. I hope there's maybe the odd MP or two in there of the Labour Party that actually has some bloody integrity and actually holds Keir the Traitor Starmer to account, and hopefully tries to take out the trash and place it in the dustbin of history where it belongs, because that's where that man belongs. And I'd even go a step further and personally carry that bin and dump it in the Pacific Ocean myself. The man is about as wanted in this country as a nonce in a nursery. He has no place in this country, no place as a leader. He failed as a lawyer. He likes to preach that he's doing shit, but he is just shit, put simply. Keir the Traitor Starmer is only doing this to make himself look good, when right now he looks about as good and appetizing as a shit-filled cake. And I'm not afraid to say this shit, because you can even say it with me. I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I am not going to mince my words. I'm going to say it exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. And the way I look at it is Starmer's resignation is long overdue. Very long overdue. In fact, he shouldn't have even been in power in the first place, since, as I said, he filled out one of his electoral forms wrong, which meant he has committed fraud in the election. He has effectively committed electoral fraud by not putting his actual residence in. He put Lord Ali's mansion in. Therefore, he should not have been allowed to become Prime Minister, since he broke electoral law. But again, the mainstream media are not going to tell you that. They rather focus on DEI and wokeness, and how Islam is a religion of peace, when it is about as peaceful as a tank in a minefield. What always amazes me, though, is when I go on Twitter and I find lefty NPCs who are like, I am so glad I voted Labour. Look at what they've been doing. Look at all the migrant boats that have come into the UK since they've got in. Yeah, you're not pulling that shit over me, love. Because migration has skyrocketed. It's partly the Tories' fault, but you can't keep blaming the Tories for everything, which is basically Keir the Traitor Starmer's favourite scapegoat. I'm surprised he hasn't labelled the goat Tories at this point, or coloured it in blue. But he keeps blaming the Tories, but he is now responsible for cutting immigration. He has not done so. In fact, as I said, he's fast-tracked Islamic immigration at our expense. But I believe the girl who said this was Jenny, but I don't want to put her full name out because I don't want her getting in too much trouble. But I think, Jenny, you really need to reevaluate what you're saying. You haven't done any fucking research on this shit. These people in the Traitor Party have not done a single thing for immigration that has been a net positive for this country. You need to look more into this. And as for Keir the Traitor Starmer, we are coming for you. Whether it's through the ballot box or other means, which I hope it doesn't come to. But we are coming for you, and you're on borrowed time. That hourglass is going to run out eventually, and then you will have to face the music. In fact, he's not even got stroke number 4 before I polish this off. He's not only going to take himself down, Keir the Traitor Starmer is literally, he's put an anchor with a 10-ton bit of metal right on the end of it. He is dragging his entire party down with him. This party will be completely gone after Keir the Traitor Starmer's gone, after the Traitor Party is gone, because there is no way they are going to recover from this one. You might be able to recover from accidentally sending a few thousand people to their deaths. You might be able to recover from being an idiot and selling our gold for a fraction of its value. Hell, you might even survive overturning the Brexit referendum. But it is completely impossible to survive taking political prisoners, turning our country into a fascist state, fast-tracking terrorists into our country and endangering national security. And you're certainly not going to survive trying to screw over your own people, trying to destroy your own country. You're not going to survive that. The British people won't allow you to. You've stuck 2 fingers up the British people. In fact, you've stuck up 2 fingers and then 2 fingers again. And I'm talking about that and then 2 of these. He must go. His party must be permanently disbanded, because I do not see a future where the Labour Party exists. I do not see a future where Keir the Traitor Starmer does not bring his party down into the depths of the abyss where it rightfully belongs.